are you? I'm so glad that you came today to hear a story or to talk about stories or to talk about this sun in the sky that has given us such warmth today. That is just beautiful. I love it. I absolutely love it. There have been some days where I've just had to figure out what I was going to do at home, that I didn't have any tension around me. So I started off myself by turning off the news. I really didn't want to know or to follow. I have my people that I follow twice a day. I didn't want the rest of them. And so I started, checking out other things on the TV. And that's still not totally something that a lot of people would recognize, but it's something that I not only recognized, it brought me back a lot of memories. I love old movies. They're soothing if they're not killing, and they have good ways with each other, and they're fairly happy if they're not crying. So that was all something you could deal with. I really love old movies. And I started off this week. There were 4 movies of Dr. Kildare. Now, do you even know who Dr. Kildare is? He's a young internist at a no-go hospital, but it's got a big building and a big name, Blair Hospital. I don't know where it was supposed to be, maybe New York. But he was an intern. Lou Ayres played that part. And guess what? The dominating doctor that was training him and was so fond of him like a son was Lionel Barrymore, sitting in his wheelchair. Well, I took one look at the first one of those and I thought, I want to see all 4 of them. I remembered them. Why in the world would I be remembering movies from the 30s? Well, I'll tell you why. At the time, Jim and I were living in Brooklyn, New York. He was an intern. And so I had a lot of identifications with Lou Ayres in his job as an intern. I loved that part. I really did. And I watched him and I saw what he was doing. And I remembered him. I did. Because this was the 50s that I was living in Brooklyn. And they were playing all the 30s movies on the New York TVs to just give something, on off times or fill in the time. That's when they brought out those. I'm telling you, I knew and was popular with some actors that nobody knew at that time. They were dead. They were old, they were dead, they were handsome, they were wonderful, and the stories were great without being upsetting. So I really did love that. So the other day when I sat, working here, moving there, and I tried to remember some of that in the apartment where we lived in Brooklyn. Now, I didn't have time to do a lot of things because I had a little boy. And that little boy was very eager to go places, whether on his knees or on his feet. And so that kept me quite busy. And at the first part that we lived in Brooklyn, I didn't have a television. Oh my gosh, we didn't have a television. We didn't have enough money to buy a television. But I went home to North Carolina for a visit with my parents. And I told them, Mother and Daddy, that I was just so lonely at night. Jim would be gone, and I had a little radio to listen to. And so I was lonely in that apartment. And my father said, I'll fix something for you. Now, I never knew what he was going to fix because he was a fix-it man and he was an inventor and he could put things together with strings and whatever. And so, but by the time I was ready to come home, he had taken a fairly large wooden case. It's a wooden box. That's what they were selling at that time. And that was the TV. It was a small TV. But even smaller was the picture in the TV. It looked like just a card that was in the middle of that. And that's what you were supposed to look at. It wasn't too heavy. I could manage it. And so we packed it all up and I took it on the train. And we went back to Brooklyn. Jim was a little stunned when I got off the train and I had Jimmy and his stuff and his baggage and another bag for me and a box. I said, "You're going to love this. It's a TV. It does show you pictures. It's not the usual TV, but it works." And we went home and plugged it in, and it did. I saw the Kildare movies in the late 50s. They had started in the 30s. And they were fun, they were beautiful, and they were really fine doctors. That gave me a good feeling for what Jim walked out of the house every day to go and do in his white jacket and whatever. Jimmy liked it because there was, Captain. I can't remember his name. Isn't that embarrassing? I should have looked that up. But I saw the children's thing. The woman who had the little lamb puppet. There were things that he would sit there while I did something busy, and then he would watch it. There were no repeats, of course, because that wasn't in yet. And it made the day so much better. It made me in a mood of looking around and seeing what was going on. The one funny thing that I remember so close is we lived on the second floor, and it was a house. And there were 2 apartments on the second floor. We lived in the back apartment, and Mrs. Brothers lived in the front apartment. I didn't meet her for a long time. I knew that she was an older woman. But every once in a while, I'd be standing out there on the small hallway to go downstairs to take Jimmy outside or to get the mail or whatever it was I had to do. And I'd hear her in her apartment. "Roger, Roger, where is Roger? Roger is gone. Where is Roger? Roger. And I thought, who is Roger? I've never seen a person living over there with her, but she talks to him all day long. "Roger, Roger, where are you? Where are you?" And finally, I just was dying to find out what was over there and who was he. And one day she opened the door and out over her head flew a bird. "Don't open the door downstairs. Don't open it. He will get out. That's Roger, and he will escape." And she called somebody in her family, and they came over and they helped her recapture Roger. And so after that, I was very careful as to who went out the door with me. And I heard her talking to that bird. I understood loneliness. I did after that. Her conversations with Roger, at least with my conversations with Jimmy, when his dad was at the hospital hour after hour. It was okay. It was okay. It's these little things that give you sort of a clue when you're having a feeling that you need something, that you just look in the back, not for a bottle of pills or anything, but try to figure something that's made you happy before. And TV, when I was in that lonely stage with that little boy and a really nice man learning how to be a doctor, that there was a loneliness there. The TV helped. And in our days today, in our world, there are times that are tense in the world for me. I cut down the TV, that's me, lonely, and I read a book or watch TV, and I prefer an old movie. They were sweeter and kinder, and I really liked them. I hope this is going well for you and that every day is some happiness. Walking down the street or coming in, or the telephone is calling and putting you in touch with somebody. We may have to stay in our homes a little bit longer, as the doctors are telling us, but it's worth it. And we just have to learn new ways to make that an okay thing. Thanks. I hope you'll come back soon. I'll have another story for you, maybe a lot more exciting than Roger's story. But for me, that's a nice memory. Thank you.